You know what's really powerful? A woman who doesn't chase approval. A woman who knows that saying no doesn't make her difficult. It makes her respected. See, attraction isn't about doing more for a man. It's about knowing what not to tolerate. The truth is, the smartest women don't win a man's heart by bending over backwards. They do it by standing their ground. So today let's talk about the 5 things high value, emotionally intelligent women refuse, and why that refusal is exactly what pulls the right man closer. You know, what separates a woman who constantly feels drained from one who walks through life with quiet confidence? It's the moment she decides she's done begging for attention. Because the truth is, attention that has to be chased never satisfies. It's temporary, hollow, and always leaves you wanting more. Smart women understand this deeply. They've learned that validation from others fades fast, but self-respect, that glow that comes from knowing your worth, that stays. See, when a woman begs for attention, she unknowingly tells the world she doubts her own value. Every double text, every over-explaining message, every little attempt to get him to notice her. It's not just communication, it's a cry for reassurance. But here's the thing, a man doesn't fall in love because you chase him harder. He falls in love because you carry yourself like someone who doesn't need to be chased. There's a quiet strength in restraint, in patience, in that subtle message that says, I'm good either way. When a smart woman walks into a room, she's not performing. She's not trying to be louder, prettier, or funnier than the next woman. She's just being herself, fully, calmly, completely, and that's exactly why people notice her. Her presence speaks louder than words. It's in the way she listens when others talk, the way she holds eye contact without forcing it, the way she can walk away from a conversation and not wonder if she's said enough. That kind of energy is magnetic, and you know what happens when she stops begging for attention. She starts attracting quality. She starts drawing in people and men who are curious about her, not because she's doing backflips for their validation, but because she's comfortable in her own skin. That kind of comfort is rare. Most people are trying to prove something. She's not. She's simply living from a place of, I already am. Here's what most don't realize: when you chase attention, you're really chasing control. You want to control how someone sees you, how they feel about you, how much they engage with you. But smart women let go of that illusion. They understand that control doesn't create connection, authenticity does. And authenticity can only exist when you're not desperate for an outcome. So she doesn't check her phone every 2 minutes. She doesn't replay conversations in her head, wondering if she said the right thing. She's too busy being present, too focused on becoming the best version of herself to notice who's watching. That mindset alone makes her unforgettable, because when a man realizes she's not waiting around for his attention, it shifts something in him. It makes him want to rise up, to match her energy, to earn the access she gives so effortlessly, but never freely. There's a saying that attention is currency, and she treats hers like gold. She doesn't hand it out recklessly. She doesn't give endless energy to someone who's half invested. She doesn't post or speak just to be seen. She moves with intention. Every silence, every time she chooses peace over pressure, she's reminding herself, I don't have to prove my worth. I just have to protect it. And when you protect it long enough, something incredible happens. You stop settling. You stop mistaking chaos for chemistry. You stop entertaining people who only notice you when it's convenient. You stop craving the kind of attention that vanishes the moment you stop performing for it. You start craving peace, depth, real connection. And that shift, that quiet change inside you, is what flips the script, because now the right man isn't attracted to you for what you give. He's drawn to who you are when you give nothing but authenticity. When she stops begging for attention, she starts attracting respect. And that, right there, is the turning point. Because once a woman realizes she's her own validation, she never chases anything that makes her forget it again. Let's talk about confusion. the kind that keeps a woman up at night, scrolling through messages, analyzing every pause, every word, every tiny detail, trying to decode someone else's intentions. A smart woman doesn't allow herself to live there. She refuses to settle for confusion. She understands that love, connection, and respect are supposed to feel clear, not like a puzzle you're forced to solve daily. When a man's actions are inconsistent, when his words contradict his behavior, she doesn't spend weeks wondering if she's imagining things. She trusts her instincts, and those instincts are usually right. It's easy to excuse confusion in a relationship. We tell ourselves things like, he's busy, or maybe he's going through something, or even, I just need to be more patient. But the truth is, patience has limits, and smart women know where that line is. They know that emotional energy is precious and that spending it trying to decipher someone else's motives drains more than it fulfills. They refuse to compromise their peace for someone who won't show up consistently. You see, clarity is a form of respect. When someone truly values you, they don't leave you guessing. They don't make you question your worth. They don't test your patience by being hot and cold, present one day and absent the next. A smart woman recognizes this immediately. She doesn't tolerate mixed signals because she knows that accepting confusion is the same as accepting disrespect. And no one deserves to be treated that way, no matter how much they care for someone. Refusing confusion also means refusing to manipulate herself into staying where she's not wanted. She doesn't twist her own perception, create narratives, or hope that things will magically make sense one day. She understands that love isn't supposed to hurt this way. It isn't supposed to feel like a guessing game. She refuses to play detective in her own life. And in that refusal, she finds clarity, strength, and even freedom. When a smart woman refuses confusion, she begins to attract the type of men who are capable of clarity themselves. Men who are decisive, who communicate openly, who don't leave her questioning her value or the stability of their connection. Because let's face it, inconsistency might be thrilling for a moment, but it's exhausting over time. Real attraction, the kind that lasts, comes from reliability, from emotional integrity, from someone who shows up in the same way repeatedly. And a woman who refuses confusion only allows the kind of man who can provide that to remain in her life. There's a subtle power in this refusal. Men notice it even when she doesn't say a word. They notice the way she carries herself, the way she doesn't chase explanations, the way she calmly disengages from situations that don't serve her. And paradoxically, that power draws the right man closer. He wants to be the one who doesn't confuse her, the one who respects her clarity, the one who earns her trust without games. Because smart women don't ask for this, they demand it by simply refusing anything less. She also understands that refusing confusion doesn't mean shutting down completely. It doesn't mean she's cold or unfeeling. It means she values herself enough to expect honesty, consistency, and respect. She communicates her boundaries clearly, and if someone crosses them, she doesn't hesitate to step away. That decisiveness is magnetic. It signals to everyone around her, especially men, that she knows her worth and will not settle for emotional ambiguity. And here's the ultimate truth. Refusing confusion is about refusing to waste time, the one thing you can never get back. A smart woman protects her time, her energy, and her peace. She refuses to stay where she is unsure because she knows the right love doesn't require guessing games. The right love shows up, it communicates, and it honors her consistently. And in that refusal to accept anything less, she opens herself to the kind of connection that doesn't just attract a man. It inspires him to rise to meet her. Her refusal to settle for confusion becomes her superpower, and it's exactly what sets her apart. Because clarity attracts clarity, honesty attracts honesty, and respect attracts respect. And the man who is worthy of her heart will never leave her wondering where he stands. Let's talk about giving and the subtle trap that comes with it. A smart woman knows the difference between giving from love and giving from lack. Giving from love is natural, effortless, and fulfilling. Giving from lack, however, is draining desperate, and ultimately unattractive. She refuses to over-give because over-giving is a silent way of begging for something in return. And the truth is, love isn't earned through exhaustion, sacrifice, or endless effort. Love is earned through presence, authenticity, and mutual respect. Too often, women fall into the pattern of over-giving without realizing it. She cooks, cleans, listens endlessly, sacrifices her time, her energy, her dreams, and sometimes even her voice, all in hopes of keeping a man around. She tells herself, if I just do more, he'll love me more. But the irony is, the more she gives without boundaries, the less she is respected. Giving endlessly without reciprocity creates imbalance. It creates a dynamic where she is valued for what she provides, not for who she is. And no one, not even the person receiving it, thrives in that energy. A smart woman recognizes that love is a two-way street. She matches effort with effort, care with care, and energy with energy. She gives generously, yes, but she never gives so much that she loses herself in the process. She understands that her value is inherent. It is not something she earns through acts of service or constant approval. She refuses to over-give because she knows that when she respects herself, she sets the standard for how others should treat her. This refusal also communicates something powerful to men. Men notice balance, even subconsciously. They notice when a woman pours herself into a relationship and yet maintains her boundaries. They notice when she gives without expecting, yet doesn't allow herself to be taken for granted. That subtle balance creates a magnetic energy because it signals that she is emotionally intelligent, confident, and aware of her worth. And that kind of woman is impossible to ignore. Over-giving often comes from fear, fear of loss, fear of being alone, fear that love will disappear if she doesn't constantly prove herself. But fear is never attractive, it's exhausting. A smart woman replaces fear with self-respect. She understands that if a man is right for her, he will show up consistently without manipulation. He will match her energy, contribute to the relationship, and value her presence. She refuses to fill gaps with endless giving to compensate for someone else's lack of effort. When a smart woman sets this boundary, she creates space for authentic connection. She doesn't overextend herself to cover weaknesses or inconsistencies in her partner. She doesn't chase what isn't freely offered. Instead, she nurtures relationships where energy flows naturally in both directions. And in doing so, she attracts men who are capable of genuine love, men who are ready to show up in the same way she does. There's also a quiet confidence in refusing to over-give. It allows her to maintain her identity, her passions, her purpose, and her voice. She doesn't lose herself in a relationship. She doesn't sacrifice her dreams or silence her needs. That kind of woman is magnetic because she exudes wholeness. She isn't looking for completion in another person. She is already complete. And she invites the right man to complement her, not to define her. Ultimately, refusing to overgive isn't selfish, it's self-respect in action. It is the knowledge that love cannot be forced, that giving is sacred, and that her energy is too precious to waste on imbalance. The men who are worthy of her heart will rise to meet her, will match her generosity, and will cherish her presence. And the ones who don't, they will simply drift away, and she will be free to invest her love where it truly belongs. Her refusal to over-give is not about control, it's about clarity. It's about protecting her heart, valuing her energy, and ensuring that every act of love she offers is met with equal measure. That, above all, is what makes her irresistible. Let's talk about competition, the invisible trap that so many women fall into without even realizing it. A smart woman refuses to compete for a man's time or attention. She doesn't need to prove herself against anyone, and she certainly doesn't need to fight for someone who should already choose her willingly. There's a subtle but undeniable power in this refusal because it shows that she values herself too much to play someone else's game, and that kind of self-respect is magnetic. Too often, women compare themselves to every other woman around them. They scroll social media, notice every smile, every outfit, every interaction, and then measure themselves against it. They try to be more beautiful, more witty, more desirable, all in an attempt to win a man's attention. But the truth is, competition is exhausting and it is never attractive. When a woman competes, she communicates insecurity without even speaking. She signals that she doubts her own worth, and that doubt becomes more noticeable than any effort to impress. A smart woman understands that she does not have to compete for attention because her value is inherent. She is not a prize to be won against other women, she is a person of substance, and the right man will recognize that naturally. She knows that if a man truly values her, he won't measure her against anyone else. He won't make her fight for his presence or prove herself through comparison. He will show up because he wants to, because he is drawn to her, not because she has outperformed someone else. This refusal to compete also changes the way a woman engages in a relationship. She doesn't overanalyze texts or worry about whether he noticed another woman's laugh at a party. She doesn't attempt to manipulate attention through jealousy, games, or performance. Instead, she focuses on being herself fully, confident, calm, and grounded. And that authenticity, that ease, is far more attractive than any forced effort to outperform someone else. The energy of a woman who refuses to compete is magnetic because it signals stability, strength, and self-assurance. Men notice this behavior, often without even realizing it. When a woman is not competing, they are drawn to her naturally. There's no pressure, no tension, no need to measure themselves or calculate moves. They see her calm confidence, her steady presence, and they feel compelled to rise to match her energy. A man respects a woman who is not chasing his approval, and he is drawn to the challenge of being with someone who stands firm in her worth. That is the kind of attraction that lasts, because it is rooted in respect, not in temporary thrill or manipulation. Refusing to compete also protects a woman's emotional energy. Competing drains her, distracts her, and often leads to resentment. It turns relationships into tests instead of spaces of connection. By refusing to play this game, she preserves her peace, her clarity, and her focus on the people and experiences that genuinely matter. She doesn't invest energy in someone who is unsure of her worth or who needs constant reminders that she deserves to be chosen. Instead, she invests in herself, in her growth, in her passions, and in relationships where mutual respect flows naturally. There's a quiet authority in this refusal. It communicates that she has standards, and she is not willing to lower them for temporary attention. It signals that she is self-aware, emotionally intelligent, and confident in her presence. And the right man sees this and steps forward, not out of fear of losing her, but out of genuine desire to be present, attentive, and consistent. That kind of man does not need to be prompted or competed against. He is naturally aligned with the energy she radiates. Ultimately, refusing to compete for attention is about knowing your worth and protecting it. It's about choosing connection over games, authenticity over performance, and peace over anxiety. A woman who refuses to compete doesn't just attract men. She attracts the right men, the ones who can appreciate her fully and meet her at her level. Her refusal to compete becomes a beacon, and that is why she is irresistible. Let's talk about identity, the core of who a woman is, and why preserving it is essential in love. A smart woman refuses to lose herself in a relationship. She knows her dreams, her purpose, her passions, and she guards them fiercely. Because here's the truth: a woman who abandons herself for a man may gain his attention temporarily, but she loses her soul in the process. She may feel loved for a moment, but that love is shallow, conditional, and unsustainable. The moment she sacrifices her identity, she sets a precedent that her happiness depends on someone else's presence, and that's never attractive. Many women make the mistake of thinking love requires surrendering parts of themselves. They believe they must become what their partner wants, adopting his routines, his preferences, even his worldview, in order to feel secure in his affection. But in reality, love thrives on authenticity. A woman who knows who she is and maintains her individuality radiates a confidence that is magnetic. She doesn't just fill a space, she enriches it. And a man notices that. He notices that she has a life, a mind, and a purpose that exists independently of him, and that intrigue is irresistible. Refusing to lose herself also means setting boundaries. She doesn't allow her ambitions, her passions, or her voice to be minimized or dismissed. She continues to nurture her friendships, pursue her goals, and cultivate her skills. She doesn't let a relationship shrink her world. That doesn't mean she isn't devoted or loving. It means her love is grounded in completeness, not in dependence. She is whole on her own, and the man she chooses to love is someone who complements that wholeness, not fills a void. There's a subtle power in this refusal. It communicates to the right man that she is not a project, she is not a placeholder, and she is not someone who will bend endlessly to fit into someone else's vision. She is her own person, and men respect that. They are drawn to it, because it challenges them to rise to the occasion. A woman who maintains her identity forces a man to bring his best self to the table. He cannot take her for granted, because she has made it clear that she is not expendable, that she has a life beyond him, and that her happiness does not depend on his validation. It also protects her from the subtle erosion of self that can happen in unhealthy relationships. A woman who loses herself becomes frustrated, resentful, and disconnected. She may love, but she resents. She gives, but she burns out. She sacrifices, but she feels invisible. A smart woman understands that her love must never come at the expense of her identity. By refusing to lose herself, she maintains clarity, peace, and strength, and those qualities are far more attractive than any outward gesture or sacrifice could ever be. This refusal doesn't make her distant or unloving. On the contrary, it makes her presence in a relationship richer, more vibrant, and more magnetic. She brings depth, intelligence, and passion, not desperation or dependency. She becomes a woman who can love fully because she is not waiting for someone else to complete her. She is already complete, and that completeness becomes the very reason the right man is drawn to her, captivated by her energy, and inspired to match it. Ultimately, refusing to lose herself is about protecting the most valuable thing she has, her soul, her identity, and her light. She understands that love should never diminish her, it should amplify her, and the man worthy of her heart is the one who sees that, who admires it, and who stands beside her without trying to control it. A woman who refuses to lose herself becomes unshakable, irresistible, and eternally magnetic. Let's talk about growth. The kind that defines a woman's worth, her energy, and the relationships she allows into her life. A smart woman refuses to stay where she is not growing. She understands that life is a journey, and love should enhance it, not limit it. If a relationship leaves her feeling small, stagnant, or unfulfilled, she refuses to cling to it out of comfort, fear, or habit. She knows that settling for less than what inspires her heart is a slow erosion of her spirit, and she will not allow that to happen. Many women convince themselves that staying in a relationship, even an unfulfilling one, is easier than leaving. They say, maybe it will get better, or I can handle this, or I don't want to be alone. But the reality is, comfort without growth is a trap. It may feel safe, but it keeps her from becoming the woman she is meant to be. A smart woman refuses to sacrifice her evolution for a temporary sense of security. She understands that life is too short, too precious, to spend energy in a place that doesn't challenge her, inspire her, or push her forward. Refusing to stay where she is not growing is about more than avoiding toxicity. It's about actively seeking fulfillment and expansion. She looks at her relationships, her environment, and even her daily routines, and asks herself, is this moving me forward? Is this helping me become the best version of myself? If the answer is no, she steps away. That doesn't make her harsh, cold, or unloving. It makes her intelligent, self-aware, and fiercely committed to her purpose. Growth is not negotiable for her, and anyone who doesn't support it is simply not aligned with her path. There's a magnetic quality in this refusal. Men notice it. They see a woman who is continually evolving, who sets standards not just for how she is treated, but for the energy she allows into her life. They see her priorities, her passion, her career, her creativity, her personal development, and they are drawn to it. Because nothing inspires attraction more than a woman who refuses to settle, who refuses to shrink, who refuses to dim her light to accommodate anything less than her full potential. Refusing stagnation also empowers her in ways few understand. She doesn't cling to a man, a relationship, or a situation just because it is familiar. She refuses to compromise her dreams or values to maintain comfort. And paradoxically, this freedom makes her more lovable. When a man sees that she cannot be caged, that her energy is reserved for growth and authenticity, he is challenged to rise to meet her, to contribute to her life rather than drain it.